everybody, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. And today, as you guys tell from the title, I'm reading you out another tag. I feel like this is so like classic YouTuber, like who does tags anymore? I don't know. And I should have done this tag years ago. But maybe I shouldn't, because I'm doing the concert tag today, as you guys can tell. This has been around for many, many years, and like I said, I could have done this years ago, but I feel like it's kind of nice that I've waited, because I've been to more shows, you know, instead of I had done it 3 or 4 years ago. I did the pop punk tag like 3 years ago, and we're back to do the concert tag. I thought this would be fitting to do around this time because, I don't know about you guys, but you know, being in quarantine, you know, in self-isolation, I have really been missing concerts, you know, like social distancing obviously does not allow shows, and like I've really been missing shows. I haven't had a show since March, so it's been like over 2 months, which for me has become a long time. I'm not used to that. And I just really miss shows. I've been thinking a lot about my past shows, kind of reminiscing, watching some of my old concert vlogs, that kind of thing. So I thought this could be fun, and I would love to hear some of your guys' responses to some of these questions. I will put all the questions in the description, so if you guys want to do this tag or answer a few of the questions down below, I'd love to hear your responses. But today I'm going to answer the questions for the concert tag. There are 19 questions in the concert tag, so yeah, let's just get started. First question is, how many concerts have you been to in total? So each individual show, like tickets, you know, is 78. I do keep track, I do count. I have a list on my Google Docs of every single show that I've been to with the date, where it was, the artist, all the info, because I'm just someone that's like very data driven, and I just like to have it all laid out in one place. I also save my tickets, but because, you know, some shows you don't get a ticket, some shows I don't have the ticket for anymore, all that. That's why I like to write it down and have it saved, and that's how I know that I've been to 78 shows. And it's pretty sad because I was probably going to hit my 100th show this year if this whole thing hadn't happened, you know? I hit my 50th show last year, I believe, in 2019. And I was probably going to hit my 100th show this year because I'm pretty close, but that probably will not happen. Hopefully next year, 2021, will be the year I'll hit my 100th show. If we are talking like each individual set, then according to Setlist FM, I've seen at least 255 sets. So like, you know, a set that a band plays, though that is not entirely accurate. There's plenty of bands and shows that are not on Setlist FM that I haven't been able to, you know, account for on there. So over 255 individual sets that I've seen, and 78 total shows. What was the best concert you've been to? Now, this was by far the hardest question on this list because there's a few that jump out to me right away just because they were really special at the time. One of those being the first time I ever saw Panic! At the Disco, which I did an entire story time about that show back in 2015. I went and saw Panic! At the Disco in Hartford, Connecticut with Vama. It was our first time seeing the band. They were also my favorite band for many, many years, as you guys know. So at the time I was seeing my favorite band for the first time, and it was a very magical experience. It was my first ever GA type show. You know, it was not at an arena, it was in a convention center in a big room, and they played all these old songs. You know, I got to see Dallin up there, a lot of older members and things like that. So that was a very special show, and will probably always be a very special show for me. Another one that stuck out to me was 21 Pilots, the first time I saw them, the Emotional Road show back in 2017. I don't really like arena shows that much, but that was an incredible show. We waited in line for like 3 hours. I ended up being like 3rd row by the end of it. We started at 7th row, I ended up being 3rd row. You know, we were in the pit. It was an incredible set list, and they just did so many amazing things. Like, you know them. They put on great live shows. So that was definitely one of my favorite live shows that I've ever seen. Another one that popped up was the first time I ever saw Knuckle Puck at their own headline show, and if you guys don't know, they are my favorite band now, but how could you not know this? And that was an amazing lineup. It was with Jetty Bones, Hot Mulligan, Free Throw, and Boston Manor. Like, an incredible show. I got to meet them again, and a lot of other really cool things happened at that show, which I'll mention later on in this video. But that one also, you know, sticks out to me. But there's so many great shows, it's really hard for me to pinpoint one specific one, so those are just some of the ones that jump out at me. What was the worst concert you've been to? Now, there's really only like one show that pops out in my head when I think about this, because I don't really think I've been to that many like bad shows, realistically. And I think I'm very lucky in that sense. I don't know, I feel like it's great that not a lot of things jump to my mind, and even though for some shows there might have been bad opening acts, there's always been a really great headliner. There's always been something about the show that I've loved. So the only one that comes into mind is when I saw a band called the Leisha Killers. It was like a jam fest with Grace Under Fire at the Jupiter Hall, which is a local venue for me here in Albany. It actually doesn't even exist anymore, but it was in our mall. It was the same place I saw Belmont in 2018, if you guys remember that vlog. But this was in January, I think, of 2019. Yep, I went with my dad, and here's the thing. The venue shut down for many reasons, and one of the reasons is because they were not great at like marketing or like keeping up to date on their shows, and this is why they could never get any really big acts except for like Belmont. So like a few months before the show, this is when I was home for winter break last year, and a few months before the show I looked online to see if any cool shows were coming around the area that my dad and I could go and see, and there is apparently a pop punk band called Grace Under Fire, and whoever was running the website thought that the Grace Under Fire that we saw was this pop punk band. So I read the reviews about them, and I read like the little description about the band, and I was like, oh cool, a pop punk band. Well, that sounds lit, let's go. No, turns out they're actually like a jam band, like an old dad jam band, playing like really bad Rush covers, and it was just like a really crappy show, like super bad. Like we should not have paid $10 for that, we should have paid maybe $2. It was not great. The only positive thing about that show is that I got to bring in my camera and take photos of it, so it was a really good opportunity for me to practice taking concert photos. That was the only perk about that show. The rest of it sucked. I think we probably left a little bit early. It wasn't great. That's probably the worst show I've ever been to. Best opening act you've seen? So, okay, a few people came to mind, but the first band that really came to mind when I really thought about this in terms of like who's an opening band that I ended up really getting into after seeing them live as an opener, and that is Bearings. I saw them for the first time fall 2018, and they were opening up for like Pacific with a bunch of other openers, and you know, I was listening to their songs to get ready for that show, and I was definitely getting into their music, but then I saw them live as an opener, and like I fell in love with them hardcore, like even more. I think that seeing them live just fully brought me in as a fan and totally converted me to the Bearings life. So I would say Bearings because I just remember seeing them, like being at that show, watching them, and then even afterwards talking about it in that vlog of just how much like I was blown away by their performance, their stage presence, how great they sounded live. They're a fantastic live band, and so they totally won me over, and I've been a huge fan ever since. So that definitely comes to mind. Another one would be Jetty Bones. You know, I saw her when she opened up for Knuckle Puck, like I mentioned, and that was an incredible show. She was the first opener, so like nobody really knew her, but I got to meet her at that show, and she's another one of those bands that has a great live presence that really draws you in, that pulled me in and made me want to check out more of her music, and you know, she's like my favorite female fronted band. So that's also another one that really sticks out to me. A few others would be John Bellion, who I saw open up for 21 Pilots at that 21 Pilots show, the Emotional Road show. He's fantastic. He's blown up since then. He's huge, but he was so fun to see live, a fantastic live performer. And even Knuckle Puck. I mean, I saw them on the AP tour in 2016 when they opened up for Neck Deep and State Champs, and they were, you know, just kind of slowly moving up there in the pop punk world, and they're obviously my favorite band now, and if I hadn't taken a leap of faith and gone to that show, that was my first real pop punk show, I don't think I would have found them or so many other bands. And if you watch my old video about that show, which is super cringy, but if you watch it, you'll talk about how I'm like, yeah, the headliners were great, like Neck Deep was fun, State Champs was cool, but Knuckle Puck though? Like I just resonate with them. Like you know, there's some cringy line where I'm like, I just resonate with their music so much, but like it's true. I mean, they blew me away, and they've always, you know, connected with me on another level. So they're definitely also one of those that, yeah, they were a great opener. What was your most recent concert? Where was it? My most recent concert was back in Chicago at a place called Inside Town, which is like a really cool kind of DIY type venue in like a loft. And I saw a bunch of bands. Wilmette was the headliner, and I was actually there because Wolf Road was there, and as you guys know, I run merch for them and like take videos and stuff for them. So I was there doing that. I like wasn't really there to see it. I was there to more like work it in a way. But obviously I did also see Wilmette and Luca and Meet Me at the Altar as well, which were fantastic. So it was a really, really great show, and I got to see a lot of cool bands, and it's just, I like can't believe that was already like beginning of March, and that was my last show, and it was super fun, so I miss shows a lot. Furthest you traveled for a concert. So the furthest I've traveled is 4 hours, a 4-hour drive to Atlantic City, New Jersey for the 25th anniversary Warped Tour, which I did last year, which you guys probably remember, you know, I made a whole vlog on it. But yeah, prior to that, I had never driven that long. I guess, I don't really know, like, obviously I've seen shows in like Albany and like the East Coast area and also in Chicago, but I've never like flown there for a show. Like, I've just been living there, so I don't obviously count like a flight as, you know, a distance. I count like I was living there, how far did I go? And when I'm here, I have a car, or I did have a car, so I drove, you know, many places to Boston, and 2 to 3 hours was typically what I would drive, but I did drive 4 hours for Atlantic City Warped Tour, and I do not regret it at all. It was one of the most amazing festivals I've ever been to. How old were you when you went to your first concert? Whose concert was it? So I was 5, and the Cheetah Girls actually came to my school because there was some like weird connection that someone had with them that they could get them to come and perform in like a tent on our soccer field outside in like the spring, and it happened. They did. My mom was holding me like the entire time, but I got to touch one of their hands, sing along. It was just an experience. So yeah, it was the Cheetah Girls. Have you seen your favorite artist live? Yes. Like I mentioned before, Panic at the Disco was my favorite artist for many years, and I've seen them twice. And then Knuckle Puck, since, you know, about 2017, 2018 or so, has replaced them, become my all-time favorite band, and I've seen them 7 times. I've actually seen them like at least once every year since 2016, and I'm keeping that streak alive. Luckily for me, this year I already seen them. I saw them in February, so we're keeping 2020 alive and that streak alive, so that's pretty fun. But yeah, I've seen my faves, love seeing my faves. I haven't seen a Panic show since 2016, but I mean, I'm not opposed to seeing Panic another time because I still love them a lot. Are there any upcoming concerts that you're going to? Sad face. There were a lot. This year was supposed to be great, okay? I had so many planned shows. I was gonna go to Riot Fest, which I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but it's most likely gonna get canceled or postponed or whatever. I had so many amazing summer shows. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I was probably gonna go on tour with a band. Like, I literally am now stuck here in my room, and I was probably gonna go on tour with a few bands over the summer. For not like a crazy long tour, like a long weekend tour, like 4, 5, 6 dates. But yeah, I was literally gonna go on tour with the band this summer, which would have been amazing. So yeah, I had a lot of things planned. I'm kind of just in my head, like, I've already written off the year. Like, even things that have been postponed to the fall, I really doubt they're going to happen, especially things in Chicago that it's like a big city. Like, they're not gonna allow that to happen unless some like miracle happens sometime in the next few months. So it really sucks. I was on this great like concert roll of going to so many shows in a year, and this year just kind of changed. Luckily though, I mean, the one bright side, I guess, is obviously like I'm unemployed right now, but I'm getting a lot of money back from all the shows I can't go to, getting refunds. So if I get that sweet Riot Fest refund, that'll be really nice. But a lot of shows have also just been postponed till next year. So like Halsey's summer tour, I was gonna go to that. That's been postponed to summer 2021. Same with Sad Summer Fest. I actually got tickets for the Chicago date for that, and that has obviously been postponed. So, you know, I don't know when my next show is, which is really sad. But you know what? We'll make it through it, and then when we do get to all go back to shows, it's gonna feel that much sweeter. Are there any concerts that you've regretted not going to? Now, there weren't that many that popped into my head. I'm sure there's a few in Chicago that I might be forgetting. Like, I know, like, over the summer I was like, oh my god, I'm totally gonna go to the Law Dispute show that happened last fall. And I just didn't, because I have already seen them, and I don't think it worked very well with my schedule with school. And like, I'm kind of sad I didn't go to that, but it's not like my biggest regret. One of the things that popped out to me though was the Front Bottoms, who came to my city. They came to Albany back in May of 2018. And I had just like gotten into them. I literally made a whole setlist playlist. I listened to it, I learned all the songs, and then like a few days before the show, I just decided not to go. I was like, you know what, I think because it was on like a Tuesday or something, and I was doing an internship at that time, but I didn't have school, so I could have gone, but I didn't. And I've never seen the front bottoms, and I would love to. That kind of helped me get into them, weirdly enough, and I never ended up actually going to the show and seeing them. So that I do definitely regret, because it was a small venue. I also regret not going to the Death of a Bachelor tour, because Panic played so many deep cuts. Like, I remember Vama and I looking at the set list, and they played so many things from Fever, so many oldies that I've never heard before, and I was really pissed because I didn't really love Death of a Bachelor that much, but I guess I still would have gone on the tour if I had known they were gonna play all that stuff. So yeah, I kind of wish I went to that tour as well. Favorite concert experience. Okay, now this took me some time to think of, but then it hit me and I was like, wow, did I really forget this? So back to 25th anniversary Warped Tour last summer at Atlantic City, New Jersey. My favorite concert experience is probably when we saw Blink-182 there, and we were super far in the back of the crowd, like probably 3/4 to the back of the crowd. And we really wanted to get to the front, mostly because we wanted to be in the pit. And I was like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get there? And then we figured out that we could just crowd surf our way there, like over barricades. And it worked. We literally crowd surfed, like me and Vama and Alex crowd surfed each, like over probably like, I think it was like 20,000 people, 15,000 people. It was insane. Like picture like obviously like a huge beach just covered in people. I crowd surfed for I think almost an entire song. I know Vama crowd surfed to Anthem. I forget what Blink song it was, something early in the album. But yeah, I crowd surfed for like 1.5 to 2 minutes straight. Just like going and going and going and going. And then I finally made it to the pit around like the 7th row. And I was like, drop me, drop me, drop me. Because I didn't want to go all the way to the end and get, be caught by the barricade. I wanted to be in the pit. And so they were like, oh, she wants to be dropped. And so I fell in the pit onto the sand. And I was like, well, lit, look at me. I'm now like 6th row in the pit for Blink-182. That was amazing. So yeah, that was probably one of the most amazing experiences just because, like I said, we crowd surfed for such a long distance. To like the right of me, I could see all of Atlantic City lit up. Like it was on the beach. Like it was just so surreal. Like I wish I had a video of like me doing it or something, but like I'll never forget it in my head because it was just the coolest thing ever. So that was definitely probably like one of my favorite concert moments of all time. Any life-changing moments at a concert? Okay, now like this is pretty similar to like the question I just answered, but when I think life-changing, I don't know, like life-changing, I don't know if I've had like any really like real life-changing moments. The one that came to my head was when I saw Knuckle Puck in 2018 with Vama, and that was the show that we both crowd surfed and stage dove for the first time. And I guess I consider that life-changing because that was something that I don't think I ever thought I would actually do. Like, when I started to get comfortable at shows, I was like, oh yeah, this is the show, I'll do it. And then like, I would chicken out and not do it. And I think the fact that I didn't chicken out and both of us were able to not only crowd surf, but then get pushed onto stage with our favorite band, dance around, and then jump back into the crowd was like crazy. Because now, I mean, crowd surfing is something that I love to do. It's one of my favorite parts of shows. You know, if the crowd is like congested enough and like safe enough for me to do it, I'll do it. And it's something that I just love. I think it's just a really cool part of shows. And so I think that if I hadn't done it then at that moment, I wouldn't do it now at other shows. And I wouldn't have had that amazing Blink moment, right? So I think that's definitely kind of a life-changing moment because that was the first time I ever did that and it was just incredible. Have you made friends through concert experiences? Yes, I've made a lot of friends from the Chicago scene specifically the last few years that I've lived there for school. I've met so many people there. I didn't really like meet that many people through the Albany scene, but Chicago, like quickly enough, like my first semester, I met so many people at shows. People are just so friendly and so nice and like helpful and they really want to like talk to you about shows. And so now like I see people at shows or like if I'm going to a show alone, which I do a lot now in the city, I'll just text people and be like, hey, I think I saw on Facebook you were going, and then we'll meet up. So like I'm probably guaranteed to see at least one person that I know at like almost every show in Chicago, which is really fun because it makes you feel like the community is always there and you're always gonna know somebody. So yeah, it's great. I've met so many amazing people. I've met some people with cars, which is always nice, you know, because then they've been able to drive me out to like the suburbs for shows, which I appreciate. But yeah, I've met so many cool people and a lot of it is like they end up having mutual friends that I also know. Like you realize that the scene and the city is a lot smaller than you think it is, which I think is super cool. So I'm very thankful for all of the amazing friends I've made through shows. It's great. I also meet a lot of you guys at shows too. You know, I've been able to meet my subscribers and That's been also an amazing experience the last few years, being able to meet you guys, take photos, chat about music, you know, always one of my favorite parts. Alex and I also met some super nice people at the Attila show last summer in Syracuse, where they were from Syracuse and we didn't really know the area very well, and we had to get there early for VIP and they were also VIP, so we had some time to kill before the doors opened, and they were like, hey, we're going to this Mexican restaurant down the street, you wanna come? And so like we went and all got lunch together, I guess dinner, and it was super fun. They were super sweet. I still have the girl on Snapchat, like we still talk sometimes, so stuff like that also. It's just like super fun, super cool. Have you met any online friends at concerts? Yes, I've met a lot of people from Twitter at shows, or people that I'll recognize, you know, either they'll come up to me or I'll come up to them, you know, and that's always really cool because it's like, hey, you know, I've seen you on a screen, I've seen your photos, we talked a little bit, but here you are in person, we get to jam to, you know, songs together and stuff, and that's always really, really fun. Do you go for the bargain price seats, or do you try and get as close to the stage as possible? So this like really depends on the artist and also the price, because like there's some artists where it's not worth it, and there's some prices where it's not worth it. Like for example, the Halsey tour that I have tickets for that's now been postponed, I wasn't planning on getting pit tickets. Like I really wanted to, but when when everything came out, I wasn't like, okay, whatever the price is, I'm getting pit. No, I was like, let me see what the price is and let me, you know, figure out what's smart. And pit tickets ended up only being $100, which I thought was like insanely cheap for someone as big as Halsey, especially because in the past, I've paid way more than that and sat in like all the way the back. So I was shook that it was $100 to be pit, and I ended up getting it. I was lucky enough to be able to get it. And so for something like that, where it's A, one of my favorite artists of all time, and B, I can get like a somewhat good deal, then I'll go for it. You know, Vama and I, we went for it. I think we paid around $80 for pit tickets for Arctic Monkeys, which was really amazing. But for some artists, it's just not worth it. Like, I'd love to see Panic in the Pit or something, but it is so expensive that for me, it just doesn't really seem worth it anymore, you know? So I think it really depends on the artist and also the price. Do you buy merch at the venue? Not as much anymore. I used to a lot when I like first started going to shows and I was 16 and I didn't have that much merch at the time. I was really into it. I'd buy shirts, you know, I'd buy like some hats. I bought some hats at Warped Tour, you know. I would order stuff a lot. I also, when I would live here, when I had my vinyl collection at home, I would get vinyl a lot from shows. I loved doing that because it was cheaper than ordering it online. But now it's come to the point where A, I have too many shirts. I don't need any more shirts. B, I don't have my records with me, so I don't buy records at shows anymore. You know, in Chicago and stuff when I go to shows there. And C, you know, sometimes it's expensive. I really only like to really support bands who are smaller at this point, you know? Like, do I need another shirt to support somebody like State Champs, for instance? Like, no, I don't really need to, but I love to support smaller bands like Belmont, or like really little bands like Wilmette, or like openers that I really like Bearings, Rich People, like those kind of bands, you know? So it really depends. Right now I have been buying bags. Actually, they're right here. I bought this Attila bag last year, which is like such good quality. And then I also bought this iconic Belmont bag, which I also love, you know, like so cute. Because I actually needed bags like this for the city, so it worked out where I was like, cool, I'm getting something I need and I'm supporting a band. So I try to be smart when I'm shopping now and buy things that I know I'll actually wear and that I need. I don't really need any more t-shirts, so I try to kind of, you know, veer away from those. But like, I need a lot of long sleeves, so I'll buy long sleeves. Sometimes I'll buy hoodies, that kind of thing, but I'm definitely a bit smarter about my merch purchases now. Have you ever been noticed by the artist while at the concert? Yes, a few times. I'm assuming this means maybe like on stage. So for on stage, you know, noticing, when I saw Rarity for the first time in June of 2018, I was like literally one of the only people bopping around and singing. And I think the lead singer could tell, so he put the microphone down and I got to scream and sing part of Hollow, which was a time. And then also when I saw Sharptooth last summer, I was literally the only person screaming. Like literally I was the only girl in the front that was bopping. Nobody else knew any of the words. They were just standing there, but I was singing and screaming. And so the lead singer, who's also, you know, a great girl, very cool, she saw me and she was like, oh, girl power. And then she put the mic down and I got to scream some lyrics there, which was super cool. So that's only happened twice. I've also obviously like made eye contact with band members. I've also been stopped by some of the Belmont boys at shows in Chicago, specifically Sam Pat, who I love big fan. He's like a friend of mine. He's very cool. But he always stops me now, like after their set, he'll walk through the crowd after, you know, and he'll just stop, he'll see me and he'll stop me and be like, hey, what's up? And like give me a hug and like, you know, make some small talk, which I really appreciate. So stuff like that is super cool when bands like that recognize you and actually like want to take the time to talk to you and stuff like that. Have you ever caught anything that the artist has thrown into the crowd? So I don't want to say I have a lot, but like I have a few drumsticks, I have a bunch of picks, I obviously have lots of set lists now. But in terms of like actually catching something, that usually doesn't happen. Usually things are handed to me or I'll look on the ground later and I'll grab it then. But I have caught a few things. Last year I caught a Boston Manor drumstick, and I don't want to say like I fought a girl for it, but I grabbed one side, she grabbed the other, you know, I did a whole story about it. And like we pulled, I think we both grabbed it pretty much at the same time in the air, you know, and I yanked on my side as hard as I could, and eventually she just kind of gave up, and I was like, cool, guess it's mine. So I did catch that in the air. I also caught a Belmont pick. I caught Sam's pick last fall. I think he saw me in the crowd and like kind of intentionally threw it at me, but usually I can never like grip onto it hard enough. But I did. I caught it and I got it. It was a great moment. And the last question, have you attended any meet and greets? Have you gotten a picture? So the only like VIP type official meet and greet that like I've paid for as like an extra thing, I've only done it for Attila, which is not a band I feel like you'd guess, but these guys are just so funny and like spunky and weird and cool. And it's always just really fun to meet them because they're such weird dudes. So I've met them 3 times. I've done meet and greet for only one band, it's Attila, and I've done it 3 times, which is kind of crazy. Once in 2018 and twice last year. And I mean, here's some of the photos, you know, we just have a great time. They're super cool dudes. I'll pay extra to get like some merch stuff obviously and like sound check and things like that, which is super fun. So that's the only time I've actually like paid extra for a VIP meet and greet. But some other times I've met bands have been at signings. So for example, I met Beartooth in 2016 when they did a signing at my local mall for their Aggressive album. And that was like, you buy the CD and then you get to meet them. It was like $5. So I got to meet all of them, which I don't have a picture of me with them. I was so dumb and didn't ask for a picture. That was my first time meeting a band. I have a video of me going through and meeting them, but I didn't ask for a photo. Yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. I also have met bands at like Warped Tour and things. So I met Trophy Eyes in 2017 at Warped, and then I think pretty much every other time I've ever met a band or any band members has been just after a show. You know, going up to the merch table, saying hi, that kind of thing. I don't really pay for VIP much. I don't go up and like pay for really signings that much, I guess. I don't know, like personally for me though, a lot of the bands that I love I can meet for free. Like Knuckle Puck, my boys, I can meet them for free. I literally see them at shows because they're from Chicago. Like I see them in the city, I see them at other shows, you know? And I don't know, I think for bigger bands, like I get it, but like, you know, when I saw State Champs last year, I had no inclination to want to pay for their meet and greet because like they're from my hometown. I ended up meeting Derek at Warped Tour. Like I know Grayscale's done a bunch of things. I don't know, I just, for certain bands, it, you know, I can see it being worth it. And I think for me, like if Knuckle Puck ever started doing it, I would pay because I love them that much. But most bands, I just don't really do it. I just meet them, you know, at the merch table. So there you guys go. That was the whole concert tag. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun to kind of just chill and talk about some of this stuff because I miss talking about it. I miss experiencing it. I just really miss shows. I like that, you know, there have been some online festivals. There's actually one today as I'm filming this that I'm excited to watch. And, you know, it's not the same, but we make it work. I'll mosh in my bedroom. It'll be okay. I'll turn my disco ball on. I'll pretend. But like I said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys would love to answer any of these questions yourself in the comments, I would love to read your responses, hear about some of your favorite concert memories, how many concerts you guys have been to. You know, I just love talking about this stuff with people and I miss it. So I'd love to interact with you guys and chat a bit more about it. Please follow, you know, my social medias if you want to, you know, chat with me more about this kind of thing or just see what I'm up to, all that. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you guys liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you all next time. Bye!